For the second time in a week, we've got to talk about the latest twist in the ongoing saga of Burning Man, the annual event that's become a cultural phenomenon for fans of sand, body odor, and STDs. During the festival, which takes place in the middle of the desert in Nevada, because deserts are the obvious go-to choice for the average event planner, a 26-foot tall wooden box was set on fire to reveal a secret monument inside, a giant steel phoenix supposedly representing the resilience of Ukraine. Setting fire to a massive pile of cash might have been more appropriate.
I'm only burning my half.
And immediately after this sacrifice to the Ukraine god, it started raining. Total coincidence, of course, and by raining, I mean torrential. It pissed down, spelling disaster for thousands of white women in dreadlocks who just didn't think ahead. I mean, leaving your cities and towns to voluntarily build temporary housing in the middle of a desert, miles away from any infrastructure that immediately disintegrates if the weather is bad, probably not the best idea. Apparently things are getting so awful that people are being told to shelter in place, and are running out of food, water, and fuel. There's plenty of drugs though, so they're good. The flooding is also so severe that the entire city, if you can call it that, has been locked off, and everyone is trapped by ankle-deep mud. Clearly they've never been to any music festival in England. But the stupidity hasn't ended there. Some people are saying that a national emergency has been declared. It hasn't. And based on one text and other white women on TikTok, FEMA is moving in to wrestle with an Ebola outbreak. Wait until we find this is just monkeypox and the media randomly stops talking about it overnight again. I guess there's one lesson here. Paganism and Satan worship is less fun when DoorDash stops delivering, your Wi-Fi signal drops, and Uber just won't pick you up.
It's 10:45 a.m. on a Saturday. I am 29 and single, and I don't have kids yet. Here's what your Saturday morning looks like when you're single at 29 and you don't have a kid running around the house. I didn't rise from my bed until 10:15. Every time I thought, I should probably get up and do something, I thought, why?
Hi everyone, I hope you all had a great Labor Day weekend. So I know I'm a bit late to this party, but I think it's really important to talk about. So this video by Julia Mesa went viral over the weekend, with some responses from a few men sparking the usual response, counter-response war we see on social media. So Joshua Lakash, who's ironically a host of a show called Wrong Opinion, shared the video first with this caption: "All the happy, childless, almost 30-year-old females I've come across are so unimaginative with their free time. They all end up bragging about the same things, and I'm not impressed. Wow, you get to stay up late and sleep in? Wait, you're telling me you can eat and watch whatever you want?" Tim Pool said it's a cope. Her life is meaningless, you don't need kids, but she has no purpose. And then Matt Walsh said this: "Her life doesn't revolve around her family and kids, so instead it revolves around TV shows and pop stars. Worst of all, she's too stupid to realize how depressing this is." So here's the clip they all shared.
It's 10:45 a.m. on a Saturday. I am 29 and single, and I don't have kids yet. Here's what your Saturday morning looks like when you're single at 29 and you don't have a kid running around the house. I didn't rise from my bed until 10:15. Every time I thought, I should probably get up and do something, I thought, why? Nobody's making me. I'm not missing out on anything. I went to Beyonce last night, and I didn't get home until 1 a.m. And I danced and drank my little heart out, and I didn't pay a babysitter to watch my kids as I did that. And I woke up a tad hungover this morning, which is probably why I was in bed for so long. And I was just scrolling on my phone, and I saw a picture of shakshuka, and I thought, you know what sounds really good? Maybe I'm gonna learn how to make shakshuka today. Because I have no plans, and I don't have kids, and I don't have a husband, and I don't have errands to run. I can go to the grocery store and learn how to make shakshuka. So that's on my agenda today. Also on my agenda, probably a rewatch of some Real Housewives of New York. I'm also doing a rewatch of Normal People on Hulu, which is really spicy and I highly recommend. Weirdly, I'm into this documentary on Netflix about blue zone countries. So I've got a pretty stacked day. Anyway, I say all this to say, whenever I'm hard on myself about why I'm not married and I don't have kids and I should be further along at 29, almost 30, I wouldn't want to do anything else this Saturday. And I know that you can do all these things when you have kids and you're married, and I understand, but the effortlessness and ease of my life, just kind of focusing on myself and the shakshuka I want to make or the Beyonce concert I want to go to, really pays off when I'm hard on myself for not being where society tells me I should be in life.
Of course, you can still do all these things if you're a parent. No one says you have to be a good parent. Get drunk, sleep in, turn on the TV, and throw the kid an iPad. But back to the video, like always, everyone except for me is wrong. So first off, people who responded to this public video were immediately criticized for daring to comment at all. That's really just dumb. If you put your thoughts out there, people are allowed to talk about it. Doesn't make you obsessed or creepy or sexist. But on the flip side, our society has gotten to a point now where you have to either be totally on board with someone or totally against them. They are either a genius or stupid. I watched this video and my immediate conclusion was just to shrug. You're allowed to enjoy your life, and the idea of a good weekend isn't going to be the same for everyone, or even the same for everyone at every stage of their life. I really think at this point, conservatives and a lot of conservative men have gone way too far. Yes, the left pushed the idea that women having children is somehow bad, and that women are wrong to prioritize motherhood over everything else. But the answer to that is, no, women should be free to choose to prioritize career, motherhood, both or neither if they want to, because we live in a free country. It's really not that complicated. It's not like we're talking about abortion policy, but we've now moved into the space of deciding what's best for women we don't know, even when it comes to lazy Sundays. And there's also a massive gap between, yes, getting married is good, and everyone who isn't married right now and isn't jumping into a marriage with the next man that comes along is somehow a massive loser. Going to a concert, cooking at home, and watching TV is hardly Sodom and Gomorrah, and mocking women like Julia only makes it harder to reach people who probably share at least some of our values on the importance of family. And if you think waking up 10 a.m., watching TV, and cooking a meal is depressing, just think about what the average man is doing right now. And it gets worse when we acknowledge the obvious fact that mocking people online does have consequences, whether we like it or not. Here's Julia describing what happened soon after.
Hi, my name is Julia and I'm 29 and single. Yesterday, someone named Matt Walsh decided to repost a TikTok video that I posted to his 2.4 million followers on X, formerly known as Twitter. And the way that his followers bullied me in the comments, reached out to me on social media, threatened me, was honestly abhorrent. Some of his followers said that I was going to die alone. I should actually die and never leave my house. I should be sexually assaulted. I'm pathetic. I'm a whore. And that I was dead behind my eyes. Honestly, that one kind of made me laugh because I use Kosas concealer and I thought that it was working. No, but really, if you haven't watched the video, I suggest you watch it. It's all about how I, a 29-year-old single female, decided to spend my Saturday watching reality TV, learning how to cook shakshuka, and sleeping in until 10 a.m. And these people were really riled up about my choices on a Saturday. But here's the thing about social media. While it can be a really crazy place, which I experienced yesterday, it's a place where there's content for everyone. Here's who I'm creating content for. I'm creating content for people who are taking their time creating the lives that they want for themselves. Because it's the life that they want, not something that society has deemed correct. People who are feeling anxious in life because they haven't met their person yet or started a family, aren't rushing or settling to meet someone because some internet troll is telling them that they're going to die alone. And you know what? There's a 40 to 50% divorce rate in the US. And I believe that figuring out who you are first and foremost and meeting your partner at that point is going to decrease that divorce rate. And if you're lucky enough to have the family and friends and support that I do, none of us are going to die alone. And I believe that we're all going to meet our people, and we're going to do it living life by our own terms. Life's too short to be living life figuring out what Matt Walsh wants us to do, or what some internet troll behind their keyboard is saying. If anyone is wondering, the shakshuka I made was delicious, and I'd love to share the recipe if anyone's interested.
Now, I'm not blaming the people who criticized or mocked Julia for the horrific things other people do and say on social media, but I do want to ask this. Is this how we win the culture war? One of Julia's friends, Alex Friedman, responded to all of this, and here's what she said. The girl in the video below is a friend of mine from college, Julia. She hosts a podcast where she talks about breakups, relationships, and trying to love yourself at any stage you are in. The fact that Matt took her video out of context to build some commentary that fits a hyper-negative narrative and chooses to call her stupid is not just cruel but flat-out uninformed. The point of most of Julia's content is to say even if you are alone, even if you are going through a breakup, even if you haven't found the one yet to start a family, there are ways to find joy through that. It just so happens that her Sunday joy is celebrating learning to cook a new dish and watch reality TV guilt-free. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. And please, let's not forget when we share commentary on content, there are real people behind those videos and posts, and more often than not, we do not get a full picture in a few minutes long video or a few sentences. But what about the fact that conservatives complain about this all the time too? We're always being taken out of context. Media Matters built their entire company around it. But if it pisses us off when they do it, why are we doing the same thing here? And worse, why are we doing the same thing to people we could potentially be bringing over to our side? Because who has ever had their mind changed by being called stupid? No one. What's hilarious here is that a lot of the people I'm seeing criticizing Julia or calling her stupid and depressing are married men. But what would happen if they wanted to convince their wives of something and they started by calling them stupid or depressing? Probably wouldn't go too well. You know what, dear, you're right. I am a moron. And yet we're amazed that so many women like Julia have no interest whatsoever in hearing what we have to say. So for all the conservative men out there, how about this idea? It's fine to call people stupid on social media if they're being really stupid. And it's fine to think Julia's video is silly or misguided. But when the anger dial is at 11 for absolutely everything, all we end up doing is slamming the door in people's faces and proving to an awful lot of women that everything they think about conservative men is 100% true.
You're just a guy who's in town for the night, and it sounds like you're looking to party.
Yeah, pulled up in a bar outside, and there's this guy that's introduced to me as Barack Obama.
After leaving Fox News, Tucker Carlson started a new show on Twitter called Tucker on X, I guess because Tucker on Meth was taken. The guests he's had on the show have been some of the biggest names in American life, if not the world. Donald Trump, RFK Jr., Vivek Ramaswamy, Ice Cube, Dave Portnoy, whether you like them or not, all big names. Even the Tate brothers, two of the worst people on the planet, are at least relevant. Well, the same cannot be said for his guest this week, Larry Sinclair, whose claim to fame is that he supposedly smoked crack and had sex with Barack Obama over 20 years ago.
You're just a guy who's in town for the night, and it sounds like you're looking to party.
Yeah, pulled up in a bar outside, and there's this guy that's introduced to me as Barack Obama. I had given Barack $250 to pay for coke. I start putting a line on a CD tray to snort, and next thing I know, he's got a little pipe and he's smoking. So I just started rubbing my hand along his thigh to see where it was going, and it went the direction I had intended it to go.
Even though you had sex with him twice, you did cocaine with him, watched him smoke crack twice, you had no idea who he was.
I had no idea who he was.
Let me just ask the obvious question. What was Obama like on crack? Is it your sense that that's who Obama is, just transactional, or that he's bisexual, or like, what is this?
It definitely wasn't Barack's first time, and I would almost be willing to bet you it wasn't as long.
The guy's running for president, and credible information comes out that he's smoking crack and having sex with dudes. That seems like a story.
Well, it would be a story if the media really cared about telling people the truth.
First off, we all got f***ed by Obama. Second, the story here is that Larry Sinclair randomly met Obama in 1999, took drugs, and then had sex on 2 occasions, once in a limo or once in a hotel room. Who says romance is dead? Also, Obama always talked about fixing race relations. Maybe he just really, really meant it. But here's the real problem. Tucker Carlson might say this is credible, but only if we seriously believe that the evidence-free word of a crack addict is credible. If Hunter Biden took the stand to defend the big guy, we wouldn't take him seriously, let alone the fact that Larry Sinclair is a known con artist. He's been convicted on charges including fraud, forgery, larceny, and has served prison time in 3 states. But third and most important, why are we doing this? Tucker Carlson is probably the biggest name on our side. Without a doubt, he's smart, funny, incredibly talented. He can help push the lever in the right direction. And I get that talking about Barack Obama taking drugs and having sex with men is funny and gets the clicks. But aren't we better than this? Barack Obama left office almost 8 years ago, and this supposedly happened almost a decade before he became president. He's politically irrelevant right now, and rehashing an old and, again, completely unproven story just seems like clickbait nonsense that makes our side look silly. Let's say Barack Obama did smoke crack and bang a random dude in 1999. The man ran as a Democrat. Drugs and casual sex is basically their platform. Even if this is true, which almost certainly isn't, what do conservatives gain from this? If you love Obama, is this going to change your mind? If you hate Obama, you should probably hate him because he was a terrible president, not because he may or may not be gay. And if an irrelevant Democrat being gay is the problem, maybe it's time to rethink priorities. Tucker Carlson can obviously talk to whoever he wants on the show, but I think everything we do have to be pushing in pursuit of a narrative, pushing in pursuit of an ideology. I really don't understand having a crack-addled Larry Sinclair on the show is going to help any of that.
On
That's
January
not what I asked, with
7th,
respect. I'll ask it a third time.
That's exactly the thing I would have done.
What did Trump do that was egregious, quote, downright abhorrent, and a danger to democracy? Can you just explain to our viewers? Your words.
So
let's get one thing straight. I might not agree with Mehdi Hasan on anything, but at least he's actually doing what so many other people in the media just aren't willing to do. Hold Vivek Ramaswamy's feet to the fire over his own words. So in an interview on MSNBC, Ramaswamy suddenly, for what somehow seemed like the first time, wasn't able to tech sales smile himself out of his own nonsense. First off, Ramaswamy used to be a huge critic of Trump. Just after January 6th, he tweeted, "What Trump did last week was wrong. Downright abhorrent. Plain and simple. I've said it before and did so in my piece." He's referencing a Wall Street Journal piece. But now he's so far up Trump's ass that the lumps in the back of Trump's pants are Vivek's feet, and he's trying to rewrite history, but Mehdi Hasan won't let him.
You say he behaved in downright abhorrent behavior that makes him a danger to democracy. What was it that was downright? Tell me what he did that was downright abhorrent.
Let's actually be really fair to your audience. So on January 10th, 2021, thereabouts, days after that incident, I wrote an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal. arguing that censorship was the real cause of what happened on January 6th. When asked in response, somebody asked me the question, are you... That's what I wrote. I'm giving you the facts of what I said. That's a hard fact. That was published in the Wall Street Journal. When pressed on, was that condoning what Trump did? My answer was no. There's a difference between a bad judgment and a crime.
And
we
you're
need
avoiding
to
my
be
question.
able to tell the difference in this country.
What did Donald Trump do,
no, I'm not avoiding
in your
question.
view, that was downright abhorrent? Second time
I think that the thing that I would have done differently if I were in his shoes
not what I asked,
is
Vivek,
I would
with
have
respect.
declared re-election on
That's
January
not what I asked, with
7th.
respect. I'll ask it a third
That's
time.
exactly the thing I would have done.
What did Trump do that was egregious, quote, downright abhorrent, and a danger to democracy? Can you just explain to our viewers? Your words.
So you're mixing two different quotes. But what did I think was reprehensible about what happened that day? Look, I think that the way a true leader should have handled that situation should have been to actually say, this is me running for re-election, not actually litigating what is already passed and behind us. And I would have done things differently. That is not a crime, though, what he did.
I understand.
And the reason I have been so vehement.
You keep saying what you would have done. I just want to hear from your mouth. No, unless you're scared of him, why won't you say what he did that was downright abhorrent?
I'm not going to let you stitching together three things from three different places to create a caricature. Do you want to have an actual conversation?
Yes, I want you to answer my question, Vivek. Three times I've asked it. What did Trump do that was downright abhorrent? It's a simple question. It's your words. It's on screen. What did he do that was downright abhorrent?
I believe that failing to unite this country falls short of what a true leader ought to do. That is why I'm in this race, is to do things differently than any prior president has done them. That's the hard truth, okay?
And that's what made him a sore loser and abhorrent.
The media
yes, your words.
and the reality is none of that is a crime. And the reason I have been so vocal, is because when somebody actually prosecutes somebody for a bad judgment, and I've been clear,
I understand your objections to the litigation.
I would have made different
that.
judgments.
That's not what I asked about. I
That is
understand.
a distinction we have to draw.
Understood.
Then there's the hilariously shameless story that he paid someone to scrub his Wikipedia page of inconvenient references to stuff he's done in the past that GOP voters might not love now, like taking money from Soros family members or working on COVID-19 teams. But he just can't stop lying about that either.
You accepted a Paul and Daisy Soros scholarship at law school that was specifically set up for the children of immigrants. It was an affirmative action scholarship, and your defense for that is that you didn't have the money to pay for law school, even though you'd already made over $1 million at the time and made another $2 million.
My defense of that is somebody gives you a merit scholarship at the age of 24, you take it. At the age of 24, somebody gives you a merit scholarship, you take it. I didn't say I didn't have the money.
When I was going to law school in my mid-20s, in my early 20s, when I didn't have the money and it was a merit scholarship.
I didn't say I didn't have the money. I said at a time when I had a lot less money than now. $50,000
you said
was
exactly
still
I didn't have the money
to me.
Vivek. You keep forgetting your quote. You said, when I didn't have the money.
Whoops. So there are two problems here. The first is that too many people in the media on both sides are so devoid of intellectual honesty that they would never, ever, ever dare to call Vivek Ramaswamy out on his obvious lies. Why? Because he's duct-taped himself to Trump's inner thigh. It's honestly embarrassing, though, that the only person to call him out on his bullshit, including the fact that he used to hate Trump, is a fellow purveyor of bullshit on MSNBC. And two, Vivek honestly believes that Republican voters are dumb enough to swallow the garbage he's selling. His entire campaign is say stuff he thinks his audience will like and pray that they are too stupid or lazy to Google what he said yesterday. It's time to prove him wrong.
It's going to come to your neighborhoods. All of us are going to be impacted by this. I said it last year when we had 15,000, and I'm telling you now with 110,000. The city we knew, we're about to lose.
To wrap up the week, let's dive into a story that's shaking the Big Apple to its core. New York City is under siege. Not from aliens or Godzilla or weather that only kills the bad guys. No, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants that have filled up the city. And before you clutch your pearls and scream at me for being just another crazy racist right-winger, these aren't my words. These are the words of New York City Mayor Eric Adams.
We've turned this city around in 20 months. And then what happened? Started with a madman down in Texas decided he wanted to bus people up to New York City. 110,000 migrants. We have to feed, clothe, house, educate the children, wash their laundry sheets, give them everything they need, health care. And this team here, We stated, let's do everything possible before we have to push it out into neighborhoods and communities. Month after month, I stood up and I said, this is going to come to a neighborhood near you. Well, we're here. We're here. We're getting no support on this national crisis, and we're receiving no support. And let me tell you something, New Yorkers. Never in my life have I had a problem that I did not see an ending to. I don't see an ending to this. I don't see an ending to this. This issue will destroy New York City. Destroy New York City. We're getting 10,000 migrants a month. One time we were just getting Venezuela. Now we're getting Ecuador. Now we're getting Russian-speaking coming through Mexico. Now we're getting Western Africa. Now we're getting people from all over the globe have made their minds up that they're going to come through the southern part of the border and come into New York City. And everyone is saying it's New York City's problem. Every community in this city is going to be impacted. We got a $12 billion deficit that we're going to have to cut. Every service in this city is going to be impacted. All of us. And so I say to you, as I turn it over to you, this is some of the most educated, some of the most knowledgeable, probably more of my commissioners and deputy commissioners and chiefs live in this community. So as you ask me a question about migrants, tell me what role you played. How many of you organized to stop what they're doing to us? How many of you were part of the movement to say, we're seeing what this mayor is trying to do, and they're destroying New York City? It's going to come to your neighborhoods. All of us are going to be impacted by this. I said it last year when we had 15,000, and I'm telling you now with 110,000. The city we knew we're about to lose.
Just wait until they decide to build a wall. Also, I don't really understand why he's worried about a deficit larger than AOC student loan debt. Why don't they just forgive it? Of course, he'll say things like, we're all in this together, but because he's a Democrat, he's really only talking about Democrats. So he's got to find a Republican to blame. This time, he's pointing fingers at Texas Governor Greg Abbott, saying that this is all because he dared to bus migrants from the border to New York. But this is the same New York that was proud to declare itself a sanctuary city right up until they actually had to live with the consequences. Why do Democrats in blue areas far from the border only care about immigration policy when it's their towns and cities falling apart? Now, it's fair to say that the numbers are staggering. We're talking about 110,000 illegal immigrants who've arrived in New York City since last spring. So staggering that the hosts of The View are tearing out their hair extensions over what's happening right now.
But frankly, you know, I think we need to find, and we've dealt with this before. I lived in Miami. I was an immigrant in Miami in the 80s. You'll remember when we had the Mariel boat lift. Yes. 125,000 Cubans came in a matter of 6 months. It puts tremendous stress on a city, on a community, on the social services. They need to be resettled elsewhere.
They need to spread out. We're this massive country.
Well, and it's only going to get worse with global warming and climate change because people can't live in certain parts of this world.
But millions have crossed the border since Biden took office. Would Eric Adams care if these hundreds of thousands of people were just left in Texas? Does The View care about the made-up victims of climate change if they're left in Arizona or Florida? Of course not. Because Democrats love to push themselves as the empathetic, welcoming, giving ones, but only when they're being empathetic, welcoming, and giving with other people's time, effort, and money. Just like they did in Martha's Vineyard, that kindness goes straight out the window the second someone ruins their day or gets in the way of their favorite bagel shop, or worst of all, costs them money. When it's our problem they caused, they couldn't care less. When it's their problem, suddenly we're all in this together. Maybe the people in New York need to wake up and realize this is actually what they voted for. It's time they lived with it.